I'm Nick Knuth from the Department of Kinesiology. I'm an associate professor. I'm in my 9th year now. I also serve as the program coordinator for the exercise science major and assistant chair for our department overall. My research interest is in energy expenditure and how it relates to physical activity and body composition and aging. And I've had a number of students involved with my research in the time that I've been here. I've averaged probably 3 to 4 undergraduate students per semester as a part of my research, which is maybe a little bit easier because it's more of the kind of hard science type of research than what you see out in some other places like maybe the College of Ed, where it's not as easy to get the students involved. But along those lines, I also serve, and I think the reason why I'm on this panel, maybe since Bob asked me, was because I also serve as the chair of our own College of Health Professions Council on Undergraduate Research. And so in kinesiology, I think we're kind of an interesting department because we have 4 programs, with exercise science being one of them, but we have sports management, which is much more qualitative research. We're in exercise science, we're quantitative. We have the physical education, teacher education program, and then we have our athletic training program, which is going to a full master's program here soon. But then also in the college, we have like our nursing department, which is very similar from what I've spoken with Bob about a little bit to the experience that you have here in the College of Education, where the students, their schedules are full of all the required courses that they need to take, and there's very little room for something else. I know from working with our nursing department that they utilize the honors students a lot for their undergraduate research, for the things that they need for their requirements for the extra credits and so on. So it's been interesting within our own college to kind of tackle this issue of how do we support undergraduate research across the college. We have all different types of programs that help all different kinds of requirements for their students. Within kinesiology, and specifically in exercise science, the reason I get involved with undergrad research to begin with is very similar to Allison and Alexei. I was also an undergraduate that did research. I was a chemistry student. I got my bachelor's and master's in chemistry and did research during the summer as an undergraduate for a couple of years, and really was a profound experience for me to get to where I am now. And so that's part of why I do it. But I also enjoy the other aspects of it, similar to what Allison was talking about with some of her examples. So within our program specifically, a lot of students come in saying, I'm going to be a physical therapist. Right? They come in exercise science because they want to be a physical therapist, because they want to work with the elite athletes and the professionals, and that's less than 1% that get to do that job, and they don't realize they're basically working with the general population, and maybe it's not as glamorous as they thought. A lot of my students that want to do research with me come in thinking they want to go to physical therapy school, and then they leave going out looking at something else. And that to me is really rewarding, to see them identify something that they're truly excited about. It's still within the realm of exercise science, but they found something much more meaningful to them. So I really enjoy seeing that change in them and helping them to see that. I also enjoy the undergrad research aspect because it's a completely different educational process, than just sitting in the classroom and giving them information and asking them to repeat it back to me on paper or whatever it may be. And I feel like it's much more of a professional development experience, right? To be in the lab. We don't have graduate students in our program or in our department as it is right now, except with the athletic training program eventually becoming a master's program. But we don't have graduate students, so we don't have lab courses that we would traditionally have at some other universities, right? And so our students don't really get a lot of that hands-on experience that is valuable for them to really kind of be professionally ready once they graduate. And so I see research as one of those avenues for them to get that experience as well. As far as, I guess that's probably another reason why I use undergraduate students, because we don't have graduate students to help with doing the research. But so utilizing undergraduates is very helpful, of course, for getting our scholarship done. And as I said, I usually have 3 to 4 work with me per semester, but it's usually a continuation. I try to recruit juniors, right? And when they come seek me out, or if I mention it in class and I identify somebody that might be interested and I reach out to them, I always say, I would really like you to think about committing a year at least to this undergraduate research. Because just a semester, it's kind of hard for them to really get into it and to get something that they can say, this is what I did. Like Allison kind of mentioned, with the grad school prep or getting jobs, I've had students that have gone out for grad school interviews. And I say, if you're really going to be applying to these graduate programs, one semester of undergrad research is great, but if you could do 2, how cool is that to be able to say, I presented this work at this conference or whatever it was. I had a student just recently, he graduated last year. He did go into PT school, but he was telling me after his interview that the first thing he talked about was that he did this research and he was going to be presenting it soon at this regional conference. And it was on blood flow and walking economy. And the person that was interviewing him said, oh, well, I do blood flow research. And they talked the whole hour just about the research. They didn't talk about why he wanted to go to grad school or things like that. And he got in. I kind of figured when he came back and told me that, I'm like, you're probably going to get in. But he got into the program and he's loving it, and it's been a great experience. And so having those things to kind of talk about as part of their grad school applications, their job applications and so on is great. Some challenges that I see, part of it is the time commitment again. I like it if they can give me a year. I like it if they can start as a junior and then continue as a senior. And I think, again, it's a benefit for both of us. Finding students is always a challenge. And that's something we've talked about within our college, is how do you find these students? In some of our departments, they have a really hard time just getting students to want to step out and say, I want to get involved in undergrad research. The opportunity is there, they're just not taking it. In other departments, as I mentioned, it's hard for them to fit it in. In our department, we probably have a lot more students that want to do research than the faculty can handle. And that's a challenge as well, as to how do we do this. As Allison kind of said, it'd be nice if we could have an experience for everybody to be able to get into, and it's not a pluck model. I've struggled with some students coming in and, from class or from interviewing them, talking to them, they seem great, and they get into the lab and it's a completely different story, right? And so there's the challenge of, well, now what? How do we make something worthwhile for you to work on and so on? So those have been some of the challenges, I guess, that I would say I've experienced as well. I think with that pretty much sums up my points that I'll say for now.
Nick, do they do the research for credit?
Yeah, so that's a good point. Yeah, within our program specifically, even after they take everything that's required, there's still maybe 15 to 20 credits that are just electives that they'll need to get to the 120 credit requirement. So a lot of our students do it as an independent study, or we even do it as an internship. And specifically within our major, we even just developed another field experience course that is very similar to an independent study, but it's another opportunity for them to get credits to put towards the undergraduate research.